Hey, Tom.
In American pop culture, the Mafia is often romanticized. Movies like The Godfather present it as an organization built on honor, loyalty, and a code of silence that binds men together like brothers. However, The Sopranos spent 6 seasons deconstructing this myth, peeling back the layers of glamour to reveal a rotting core of selfishness and capitalism. Nowhere is this more evident than in the season 6 premiere, Members Only.
Members only? How long you been wearing that?
Oh, cugino mio!
Through the tragic storyline of Eugene Pontecorvo, the show delivers a brutal thesis statement: the mob is not a family, it is a prison. By examining Eugene's interactions with the boss Tony Soprano, the middle manager Christopher Moltisanti, and the administration Silvio Dante, we can see how the organization exploits the hopes of its members, demands absolute servitude, and ultimately crushes the individual under the weight of bureaucracy. Eugene believes that an inheritance of $2 million is his ticket to freedom, a chance to live the American dream in Florida. But as these scenes prove, in Tony Soprano's world, financial independence does not buy freedom, it only makes you a more lucrative target for exploitation. The first scene, occurring right at the beginning of the episode, sets the stage for the entire conflict.
My sports book down in Roseville, Bacala, still making things unpleasant. I got you something. For you, calm the kids.
We find Eugene and Tony in the back office of the Bada Bing strip club. The setting is crucial. This isn't a family dinner or a friendly hangout. It is a place of business. The room is dark, cluttered with files and money counting machines, symbolizing the true nature of their relationship. The interaction begins with a bribe. Eugene hands Tony a bag containing high-end David Yurman watches. This moment is essential for understanding the power dynamic. In a normal friendship, a gift is an act of affection. Here, it is a transaction. Eugene knows that to get Tony's attention, he has to pay for it. He is trying to sweeten the pot before asking for a favor. We must look closely at Tony's reaction.
18-karat gold, diamond center.
Why do I get the feeling there's a jeweler somewhere filing an insurance claim today?
Actually, that ain't what it is.
Tony is a materialist at heart. He loves the objects, but he has zero interest in the person giving them to him. The logic here is sound but cynical. Tony sees people as resources. When Eugene gives him the watches, Tony is happy. But the moment Eugene asks for something in return, Tony's demeanor shifts instantly.
She left me an inheritance, Tom. Just over $2 million.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Make sure you invest it.
Eugene's argument for leaving is based on logic that any normal person would understand. He has inherited a massive sum of money, $2 million. He wants to take his wife and children to Florida to escape the stress and danger of New Jersey. He even frames it around his health, mentioning that he will be 50 years old soon and that his father died young.
I was thinking about buying a place in Fort Myers. Retiring there, actually.
He is pleading for his life, quite literally. He is telling Tony, I have the means to survive without crime. Please let me go. Tony's response completely dismantles the idea that the Mafia is a job you can quit.
Retiring? What are you, a hockey player?
This line is incredibly revealing. In professional sports, players retire when their bodies give out. Tony is implying that in their world, there is no retirement age. You don't get to walk away just because you have money or because you're getting older. Tony then pivots to a manipulation tactic that is common in abusive relationships: guilt. He brings up the oath.
You took an oath, Gene. There's no retiring from this.
Furthermore, Tony uses economic logic to trap Eugene.
What about your sports book? You had responsibilities.
Benny, we know Bobby wants it.
Eugene is a good earner for Tony. If Eugene leaves, Tony has to find someone else to run those gambling operations, which is a hassle. Tony isn't worried about missing Eugene's friendship. He is worried about the interruption to his cash flow. The scene ends with Tony saying,
We go back a long way, Tom.
Well, let me think about it.
To a hopeful person like Eugene, this sounds like a maybe. But looking at the scene analytically, it is clearly a delay tactic. Tony keeps the watch as the bribe, but he gives nothing in return. He holds all the cards. By refusing to give a straight answer, Tony keeps Eugene in a state of anxiety and dependence. It is a power play designed to remind Eugene that he doesn't own his own life. The second scene shows the opportunism of the middle management.
Tony left?
Yeah.
I stopped by Stewart's. I got a whole lunch set up.
Christopher represents the future of the family, and the future looks bleak. Eugene approaches Christopher because he knows Christopher is close to Tony. He hopes that Christopher can put in a good word for him regarding the Florida move. This is a classic example of workplace politics. When the boss is stonewalling you, you try to go through his favorite lieutenant. However, Christopher's reaction is not one of sympathy. It is one of calculation. Christopher realizes immediately that Eugene is desperate, and in the world of the Sopranos, desperation is a commodity to be exploited.
Did Tony mention anything to you about what we talked about?
About you moving to Florida?
Christopher has a problem. He needs a guy named Teddy Spiridakis killed in Boston. Christopher doesn't want to do it himself, and he doesn't want to pay a freelancer to do it. Seeing Eugene's desperation, Christopher strikes a devil's bargain.
There's something I need you to do. I got a call from Fritzy up in Boston.
Really?
I'll call with the details, get it done. I'll put in a good word to T about the Florida thing.
The logic is transactional. If Eugene kills this guy for Christopher, Christopher will talk to Tony about Florida. This is a profound betrayal of the brotherhood concept. Christopher knows, or at least strongly suspects, that Tony is never going to let Eugene go. The audience can see it, and a seasoned guy like Christopher likely sees it too. Yet, he sends Eugene on a dangerous mission, knowing Eugene will take the risk because he is blinded by hope. We must also analyze the dialogue where Eugene asks,
So this comes from Tony?
Christopher gets defensive, saying,
It's coming from me. I'm not a fucking captain.
he wants to wield authority, but he is using Tony's name to get what he wants. He is bullying Eugene. He essentially tells Eugene, do this murder, or I won't help you. Eugene is trapped. If he says no to Christopher, Christopher might badmouth him to Tony, killing his chances of Florida. If he says yes, he has to commit a violent crime that could get him arrested or killed, right when he is trying to escape that life. Christopher forces Eugene to dig himself deeper into the hole he is trying to climb out of. This scene perfectly illustrates the crab bucket mentality of the organization. When one crab tries to climb out of the bucket, the others pull him back down. Christopher doesn't want Eugene to be happy in Florida. He wants Eugene to be useful to him in the Northeast. The promise of the good word is the carrot on the stick, leading Eugene toward a cliff. The final scene is the climax of this specific narrative arc, and it is where the show's critique of the Mafia becomes most biting.
Hey, listen to this. Your nose runs and your feet smell. You're built upside down.
Funny.
Eugene is back at the Bing, waiting for news. He has done the job, whacked the man in Boston. He thinks he has paid his dues. He thinks the transaction is complete. Watches plus murder equals freedom. But the Mafia doesn't work on fair exchange. So instead of Tony coming out to talk to him, we see Silvio Dante. Silvio is the consigliere, which technically means counselor, but in this context, he acts as the human resources manager delivering a layoff notice. Tony's nowhere to be seen. This is an act of cowardice. Tony, the tough guy boss, cannot look Eugene in the eye and tell him no. He hides in his office or on his boat, delegating the unpleasant task to a subordinate. Silvio's delivery is chillingly bureaucratic. He doesn't get angry. He doesn't yell. He speaks calmly, almost bored.
Hey, by the way, your Florida thing, Tony asked me to speak to you. That's a no-go.
What?
The language is practically corporate. It sounds like a bank denying a loan application, not a death sentence for a man's dreams. When Eugene protests, saying,
But I just did that thing.
Silvio shuts him down with one of the most devastating lines in the episode.
That's not my department.
That's not my department is something you hear in a dysfunctional office building, not a criminal secret society. It represents the compartmentalization of guilt. Silvio is saying that he doesn't care what Eugene did for Christopher. That was a separate transaction. The administration Tony and Silvio does not honor the side deals made with middle management Christopher. The logic here is brutal, but undeniable. The organization will always take, but it is never obligated to give back. Eugene's murder of the Boston guy was a gift to Christopher, but it bought him zero credit with Tony. The system is rigged so that the house always wins. Then, to add insult to injury, Vito Spatafor enters the scene.
It's not so silly when you think about it. I'm a top earner now. It's not out of the realm of possibility that I could be the boss of this family one day.
Eugene represents the trapped soul who wants to escape the evil. Vito represents the ambitious parasite who wants to consume the evil and become the king of it. Neither of them cares about loyalty. Eugene wants to leave for selfish, though understandable reasons, and Vito wants to stay for selfish, power-hungry reasons. Eugene realizes he is completely alone. Tony used him for the watches. Christopher used him for the hit. Silvio dismissed him with bureaucracy. And Vito is too busy plotting a coup to care about a fellow soldier's feelings. The family is a lie. It is a room full of sharks eating each other. Eugene believes that if he can just cross state lines, he will become a different person. He thinks the corruption is in New Jersey, not in himself. However, the logic of the show suggests that Eugene is deluding himself. Even if Tony had said yes, could Eugene really have been happy? He is a man who beats people up for money. He is a murderer. The scene with Christopher proves that Eugene is still capable of extreme violence when pushed. If he moved to Florida, he would still be Eugene Pontecorvo. He would still carry the weight of his actions. The $2 million inheritance is a symbol of the easy way out. Eugene didn't earn that money. It fell into his lap. He thinks this luck entitles him to a new life. But the universe of The Sopranos is governed by a grim form of karma. You cannot buy your way out of a blood oath. The money, rather than liberating him, becomes a curse. It shows him a door that is locked, making his imprisonment in the Mafia feel even more suffocating than before. If he were poor, he wouldn't have the hope of leaving, and without hope, he wouldn't feel this specific despair. Why did Tony say no? If Tony lets Eugene go, it sets a precedent. If Eugene can buy his way out for the price of some watches and a cut of his inheritance, then what stops other soldiers from doing the same? If Ralphie or Polly or Christopher decided they made enough money and wanted to quit, the family would disintegrate. The Mafia relies on the concept of omerta silence and a lifetime commitment. It is a feudal system, not a democratic one. A king cannot let his knights retire just because they won the lottery, or he will soon have no army left to defend the kingdom. Therefore, Tony's decision, while cruel and heartless on a human level, is entirely logical on an organizational level. He must deny Eugene to maintain the structural integrity of the gang. Eugene's individual happiness is irrelevant compared to the survival of the Enterprise. This is the tragedy of the members-only jacket Eugene wears and the episode title. Being a member sounds exclusive and special, but in reality it means you are owned. You are a member of a club you cannot quit. The logic of the Mafia is predatory. It sees weakness and exploits it. It sees wealth and confiscates it. Ultimately, Eugene's story is a cautionary tale. He tried to serve two masters, his desire for a normal American life and his oath to a criminal organization. These two things cannot coexist. The tragedy is not just that he wasn't allowed to go to Florida. The tragedy is that he ever believed the family cared about him enough to let him go. The interactions in these scenes peel away the mask of the mobster code, revealing that underneath the handshakes and the hugs, there was only business. Cold, hard, inescapable business.